He fired her like she was nothing. But 6 years later, the little boy she raised looked exactly like him and called her Mom. Have you ever been left without closure and forced to carry the consequences alone? Do you know what it feels like to rebuild a life in silence, only to face the man who broke you? This isn't just about heartbreak. It's about what happens when a woman loses everything and still chooses to protect what matters. Stay with us, because the man who once abandoned her is about to find out who she really became. Elira Quinlan didn't believe in chaos. She believed in lists, schedules, silence. At 25, she was already fluent in discretion, the language of those who served powerful men without being seen. And no man was more powerful at Calum Enterprises than Cassian Ruel, a tech billionaire with glacier-cold eyes, a navy wardrobe, and no tolerance for excuses. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't gossip. He didn't date staff. He simply expected excellence, and Elira delivered it. Every coffee, every travel document, every rescheduled board meeting, she handled it all, without complaint, without fanfare. For 2 years she existed 5 feet behind his shadow, noticed only by how seamless his life remained, until one night changed everything. It was supposed to be a quick, late-night wrap-up before the Christmas shutdown. A European acquisition had stalled, and Cassian needed his top aide to stay and help sort documents and logistics. Elira didn't mind. She had nowhere to be. Cassian's penthouse was modern and sterile, walls of glass overlooking a frozen skyline. But that night, he looked different. He was pacing, quiet, not sharp, but worn, not guarded, but something else, something she couldn't name. Elira, he said, voice lower than usual, do you believe in regret? The question surprised her. Cassian never asked questions like that. I believe everyone has one thing they wish they could take back, she said. But most pretend they don't. He didn't respond, just looked at her, like she wasn't his assistant anymore, but someone else entirely. Later, she would try to convince herself it was the snow, the isolation, the quiet. But that would be a lie, because when his hand brushed hers over the laptop, and he didn't pull away, when he offered her a drink, not as a boss but as a man, and when his lips met hers, slow, hesitant, then certain, it was mutual. They didn't speak after. No labels, no promises, only breathing, and snow tapping on the windows like a metronome to something unspoken. The next morning, she woke to an empty suite. No note, no jacket on the chair, no sound of a shower, just silence. Cold, echoing silence. The penthouse still smelled faintly of his cologne, something clean and forested, but the man himself was gone, and the glass wall facing the skyline had started to fog up from her breath. Elira sat up slowly, pulling the blanket higher, as if it could shield her from the embarrassment creeping up her throat. She checked her phone. No text, no calendar alert, not even a meeting reminder. Had she imagined it? She showered quickly, dressed in yesterday's clothes, and made her way back to her tiny studio downtown. The same Elira who had walked into Cassian's world years ago, buttoned up, efficient, controlled, was now folding into herself. But she told no one. There was no one to tell. Her best friend from college lived across the country. Her mother passed when she was a teen. She and her father hadn't spoken since her scholarship years. Cassian had once said in passing, "Silence is powerful, Miss Quinlan." That morning, she understood exactly how dangerous it could be. 2 days passed. Then 3. Cassian returned from Paris the following week. Boardroom meetings resumed. Staff lunches restarted. Business as usual. Except now, she was Miss Quinlan again. No eye contact, no acknowledgement, not even a shared look of memory. She wanted to believe it was professionalism, but when his assistant forwarded her a client itinerary that he used to trust Elira alone to handle, she knew. Something had changed. She didn't ask why, because asking would mean admitting the night happened, and Cassian Ruel was never going to admit that. 2 weeks later, she was called into HR. Her badge was disabled before she reached the glass door. No severance package, no sit down, just a printed statement. Position dissolved due to executive restructuring. A line Cassian himself had drafted. She recognized the phrasing. It was his style. Elira walked out of the Calum Tower without a box. She carried her handbag, her coat, and the pieces of herself she couldn't figure out how to reassemble. She moved out of the city within the month. No goodbye parties, no explanations. Just 3 hours south, to a quiet town where no one knew her name. She rented a one-bedroom flat above a struggling bookstore and started working part-time typing medical transcripts. It paid just enough to keep the lights on and her head above water. She kept her phone on silent. She trimmed her long dark hair into a chin-length bob. She folded the memory of that night and the man behind it into the back drawer of her mind. But one memory didn't stay tucked away. The morning she took a pregnancy test in the cramped bathroom of her new apartment, her hands trembled. She didn't cry. She simply placed the stick down on the counter, pressed both palms, flat to the edge of the sink, and stared at herself in the mirror. The woman in the reflection didn't look surprised. She looked like someone who already knew how this would end. The pregnancy was quiet, hidden. She didn't post photos, didn't attend group yoga classes, didn't ask for help. Her midwife said she was strong. Elira didn't correct her. At night, she wrote down everything she wished she could say to the child, about love, about timing, about how silence can be louder than words. When he was born, she named him Nico. He had Cassian's eyes, sharp, intuitive, still, but with a kindness she couldn't explain. He was her beginning again, and that was enough. Elira never told him about his father. Not fully, not yet. When he turned 4, he asked once, softly, while drawing shapes on the floor. "Mom, where's my dad?" She paused. "He was someone I loved," she said, choosing each word carefully. "That's enough for now." Nico didn't ask again. He simply nodded and went back to his coloring. But Elira could feel the questions still circling inside his tiny heart, like a quiet orbit waiting to land. She hoped it never would. 3 winters had passed since Elira last saw snow from behind a penthouse window. Now she watched it fall from the back room of the bookstore, where she sorted invoices between toddler snack breaks and freelance typing gigs. She didn't miss the skyline. She missed the version of herself who once believed in being seen. Nico was 5 now, curious, bright, always asking about planets and how jelly was made. He had Cassian's calm, but Elira's fire, a quiet mix of 2 worlds that had collided and never acknowledged the wreckage. Each day after preschool, they stopped at the corner bakery. She'd buy 1 oatmeal cookie for him, 1 black coffee for herself. It wasn't a lavish life, but it was stable, clean, predictable, hers, and she wasn't about to let that change. Then came the 6th winter, the one that unwrapped everything. Nico was sitting at the breakfast table one Saturday, munching on toast and watching the small TV mounted on the kitchen shelf. Elira was brushing her hair, half listening, thinking about laundry and an overdue rent notice. Then he said it. "Mom, that man looks like me." She turned, and her entire world stopped moving. There he was, Cassian Ruel, older, sharper, dressed in tailored grey, giving a keynote at a youth entrepreneurship summit in DC. She couldn't hear the words, not over the roaring in her ears, but the resemblance was unmistakable. The camera cut to a slow zoom of his profile. Same jawline, same brow. She grabbed the remote and shut it off. Nico blinked. "Why'd you—" "I don't like that channel," she said quickly, turning her back. "I like his voice," Nico murmured. "It sounds like you do when you're serious." Elira forced a smile. Inside, her chest ached. That night, when Nico fell asleep curled up with a plush space rocket, she dug out a box from the closet. Inside, a printed NDA from Calum Enterprises, her termination letter, a string of email threads with Cassian, his assistant, and a hospital bracelet that still read, "Elira Q, male, 6 lbs 3 ounces. She sat at her kitchen table and opened them one by one. Every word screamed silence. No apology, No explanation, no recognition. He had erased her like she was a problem solved. But the truth? He was part of someone now. Someone real. Someone who asked questions. Someone who noticed men on TV with matching eyes. The following Tuesday, an email slid into her inbox. A short-term freelance role. Remote. Well-paying. She almost ignored it, until she read the client name, Calum Enterprises. Her hands froze on the keyboard. There was no way he'd know. He'd built walls around himself, departments upon departments. This was likely routed through a contractor, a mutual connection from her old typing network. Still, fate had a way of knocking when you swore your door was locked. Rent was overdue. Nico's winter jacket was 2 sizes too small. She said yes, but under a different name, Rena Velin. Remote. Safe. No cameras. No risks. She kept it clean. Professional. Efficient. Completed her assignments. Met every deadline. Never interacted with any senior staff. It felt like stealing oxygen from her past without ever stepping into the same room, until a legal assistant requested an in-person signature for final invoice processing. It was protocol. 1 visit. 15 minutes. Drop off. And go. Elira hesitated. She hadn't set foot in that building since the morning they shut off her badge, but the payment would cover 2 months of rent, and a new pair of snow boots for Nico. She went, Elira dressed with care. Plain coat, faded scarf, minimal makeup, hair tied low. She took the train into the city, wore sunglasses even though it was cloudy. At the Calum Tower, the security guard handed her a guest pass without blinking. She walked through the lobby like a ghost revisiting the scene of her own funeral. Elevator to the 23rd floor. The receptionist glanced up, collected the folder and said, "You're good to go." Elira turned to leave. And then she heard it. Elira? Her blood chilled. She turned slowly. Cassian Ruel stood 6 feet away. No security, no assistant, no phone in hand. Just him, staring. His brow furrowed. "You look different." "I should," she replied, voice level. "It's been 6 years." His eyes darkened. "You disappeared. You fired me. I had my reasons." "So did I." The silence after that was thicker than glass, and she broke it by walking right past him, without flinching. He didn't follow. Not yet. But she felt his stare burning between her shoulder blades until the elevator doors closed. 3 days later, he walked into the back room of the bookstore where she worked part-time. She was organizing holiday displays. The bell above the door rang once. Then again. She turned the corner and nearly dropped a box of snow globes. Cassian stood by the reading corner, glancing at a shelf of nature books. She swallowed hard. "This is not appropriate," she said quietly, stepping forward. "You have a son." Her stomach turned. She didn't speak. He turned to her, eyes unreadable. "Is he mine?" "Why do you care now?" "I didn't know. You didn't ask. My legal team said you left, you were paid, that you didn't want contact." Her voice cracked. "I was paid off with silence. You didn't even look for me." His jaw tensed. "I was wrong," he said. "You were careless," she replied. "And I paid for it with 6 years of nights, wondering how to explain to a child why he had no father." He stepped forward. "I want to meet him." "No." "Elira." "No," she said again, this time louder. "He's safe, he's whole, and he calls me Mom, not broken." Cassian's face paled. He didn't argue. He left with a nod, no words, the same way he used to leave a meeting when he realized he had no control. That night, Elira sat beside Nico as he slept. She stared at his face, peaceful, dreaming, with one hand curled under his cheek, a replica of a man she had buried in silence. Except now, the silence had cracked, and Cassian Ruel had seen the truth, on a face too young to lie. Elira didn't remember driving back from the city that day. She remembered the heaviness in her chest, the rhythm of train wheels, the way Cassian said her name like it still belonged to him, and she remembered Nico's voice when she got home. "Mom, are you okay? You look quiet." She crouched to hug him, longer than usual, tighter than usual. Not to protect him from the truth, but to protect herself from it. Because somewhere between Cassian's question and her silence, a part of her had reopened, not willingly, but undeniably. 3 days later, she returned to normal, or something like it. She scrubbed the kitchen, donated old clothes, rearranged the bookshelves in the store below, just to feel a sense of control. Cassian didn't show up, didn't call. She was relieved and disappointed, an emotional contradiction she was too tired to examine. She didn't tell Nico what happened. She wanted to believe she had closed the door. But silence, she had learned, wasn't always closure. Weeks passed. Winter softened. The bookstore's heater rattled less. The morning sun stayed longer. Nico's school sent home drawings. Planets, rainbows, a stick figure of me and Mom. On the back of one, in red crayon, he'd written, "I like our life. I like our cookie walks. I like when Mom smiles." Elira stared at it for minutes. She didn't cry. She folded the paper neatly and tucked it into the small drawer where she kept the bracelet from the hospital and a photo of Nico asleep at 8 weeks old. That drawer held the only things in her life untouched by regret, and she swore to protect them. Then came the email from the Calum legal department, a follow-up request for clarification on the freelance job, minor tax documentation, nothing serious. But the sender was different. The signature read, Cassian Ruhl, or Executive Director, or Calum Enterprises. Her pulse raced. It wasn't just a form. At the bottom, in plain text, he'd written, "If you're still reading this, I'd like to try again. Not for us, for him. I'm not asking for a seat. Just a moment." She didn't reply. She closed the laptop, pushed it away like it was too loud. That night, she read to Nico in the dark, her voice steady, her thoughts not. And when he asked, "Why are you squeezing my hand so hard?" she loosened her grip and said, "Because I'm here." The next day, he showed up outside the bookstore. She saw him through the glass, standing across the street, dressed in black, no coat, holding something. She didn't go out, didn't wave, didn't speak, just turned the open sign to be right back and walked to the back room. He didn't come in. An hour later, the cashier brought a small envelope back to her. No note inside, only a photograph of Nico at the charity event, sitting on Cassian's lap, laughing, looking identical. Behind the photo, 3 words were scribbled in handwriting she hadn't seen in 6 years. "I didn't know." She tore it in half, then again, then tossed it in the bin. But hours later, when Nico fell asleep, she reached into the trash, pulled out the pieces, and smoothed them back together with tape. Not for Cassian, for Nico, because the boy had questions she didn't know how to answer anymore. She met Cassian again, this time by choice, at a neutral spot, the botanical garden Nico loved. She didn't tell Nico. He stayed with a neighbor for the afternoon. Cassian was waiting near the pond, sitting on a bench like a man who didn't want to be caught trying too hard. He stood when he saw her. "Elira." "Sit," she said. He did. For 5 minutes, neither spoke. The wind stirred the reeds. Ducks passed in slow pairs. Then he said, "He has your smile." "No," she replied. "He has your silence." Cassian lowered his head. "I wasn't told you were pregnant. You didn't ask. I thought you left for good. You made sure I did." More silence. He looked at her. Really looked. "I was scared," he admitted. "I felt something that night. It made me reckless. I don't do well with closeness, and I lost my job for it." He nodded once. "I deserve that." "No. You don't deserve anything," she said, "but you're here. So talk." And he did. He explained the chain of events. The legal counsel who overstepped, the assistant who filtered too much, his own avoidance, and the guilt. "I buried it. You, the possibility. I convinced myself you didn't want a thing to do with me, and you were okay with that." "No." But it was easier than facing what I ruined. Elira stared at the pond, then said softly, "He's not just your son." Cassian looked up. "He's his own person," she added. "Not a symbol, not a bandage, not a replacement for regret." "I know. Do you?" "I want to," he said. She stood. "I'll think about it." Cassian stood too. "That's all I'm asking." "No," she said, turning away. "You don't get to ask anymore. You get to wait." And she left. This time, without crying. Cassian didn't come back the next day, or the one after. And Elira was glad, or she told herself she was. She needed space to think, to breathe. She hadn't said yes. She hadn't said no. And that middle ground, that was her space now. She clung to it like a raft, because once you gave in to guilt, to charm, to history, you risked drowning again. Nico, meanwhile, went on being Nico, drawing galaxies, asking questions about sea turtles, telling her about a boy in his class who said, "Dads are supposed to teach you how to throw things." Elira had frozen. Nico had shrugged. "I told him I already know how to throw shade. You taught me that." She'd laughed so hard she had to excuse herself to the back room. But in that same breath of laughter came a whisper of sadness, because she couldn't deny it anymore. He deserved more, not money, not name, just truth. 1 week later, she saw Cassian again, by accident, at the grocery store. He was carrying frozen peas, reading the back of a cereal box like he had no idea what real food looked like. She almost turned around, but he saw her. No dramatic moment, no rush. He simply offered a nod, and then a soft, almost shy smile. She walked past him, didn't speak. But when she got home, Nico had a note in his backpack. It wasn't from school. It was in Cassian's handwriting. "This is a list of things I want to teach him. How to build a paper airplane. How to tie a necktie. How to take responsibility when you fail." Elira read it twice, then again, and this time, she didn't throw it out. The next time Cassian saw Nico was, by pure coincidence again. It was during a school fundraiser. Elira had signed up to help with refreshments, and Cassian's name appeared last minute as a business sponsor. She nearly walked out when she saw him by the raffle table, but before she could move, Nico darted across the room, chasing after a balloon, and ran straight into Cassian. Cassian caught him instinctively. The balloon popped. Nico blinked. "You okay, buddy?" Cassian asked gently, setting him on his feet. Nico stared. "Why do you sound like me?" Cassian laughed. "I don't know. Why do you sound like me?" They both looked at each other. "I like your tie," Nico said. "Thanks. You can have it." "Really?" "Sure." Nico tugged at the knot. Cassian lowered himself and helped unfasten it. That's when Elira reached them. She didn't yell, didn't panic, just bent down and said, "Nico, let's go." Nico glanced at Cassian. "He gave me his tie." Elira looked at Cassian. He raised both hands in peace. No pressure. Just being here. She nodded once. "We'll talk. Later." That night, after Nico fell asleep with the tie still clutched in one hand, Elira sat on the balcony. Cassian showed up 20 minutes later. She'd given him the time and place. She sat in a sweater and slippers, legs curled under her, like the woman she used to be before the boardrooms and glass towers. "I saw him," he said softly. "I know. He's perfect. He's a child. Don't put your redemption on his shoulders." "I'm not," he said. "I swear I'm not." She looked at him, his posture different now, less guarded, less corporate. "I'm not here to ask for your forgiveness, Elira." "Then why are you here?" "I'm here to wait." "For what?" "For the moment he asks about me again, and you don't lie." That hit her like a wave. She turned away, blinking fast. "I never lied," she said. "I know," he said. "That's why he's whole." Silence. Then she whispered, "What if he loves you more than me?" Cassian shook his head instantly. "He'll never stop needing you." "I'm not his history. I'm his, maybe, She looked down at her hands. I'm scared. So am I. And that was the most honest thing they'd said to each other in 6 years. Have you ever had to protect your child from the truth, even when that truth had a familiar face? If this chapter made you feel something, drop a comment below. Like this video if you believe real strength is knowing when to walk away and when to let someone in slowly. Don't forget to subscribe for the next part of Elira's quiet journey, where the truth knocks again, but this time it's her son who opens the door. 6 days passed. Elira counted them, not because she was waiting for Cassian, but because Nico had started asking again. Mom, who was that man at the school? She stirred his cocoa slower than usual. A friend from before. Nico squinted. From your job? Yes. Is he my uncle or something? She hesitated. No, not exactly. Nico's eyes didn't leave hers. He had that same stillness, like Cassian, that made her feel like her soul was on trial. He finally said, I think I like him. Elira turned away, blinking fast. Eat your toast, love. He didn't ask again that morning. But the questions, they hung in the room like fog. Elira stepped into the bookstore downstairs after school drop-off. It was early. Quiet. She arranged the new shipment of poetry books, but her mind drifted. Back to a name she hadn't spoken aloud in nearly 6 years. Cassian. Once, she had written his initials on a post-it in her planner. Now, he was printed across her son's cheekbones. She wondered if he felt the same ache, if seeing Nico had shattered something in him the way it splintered her. She hoped so. Some pain should be shared. That night, Nico crawled into her bed with a book about planets. Can you read this one? Of course. He nestled against her. Warm, familiar, hers. But halfway through, he whispered, that man knew about stars too. Elira paused. He said Orion is his favorite. Nico said, mine too. She closed the book gently. Nico. He turned to her, serious, waiting. There's something I haven't told you. He nodded slowly. That man, he's your father. Silence. Then, I know. Elira blinked. You do? I figured it out. When? Last week. When he said I sound like him. Elira's heart squeezed. Are you mad at me? No, Nico said simply. You're my mom. She exhaled. He reached for her hand. I just want to know if he likes peanut butter like me. And somehow, that question broke her more than anything else. The next morning, Elira sent a message. Simple. Nico knows. He wants to ask you about peanut butter. No sign-off. No punctuation. 3 minutes later, her phone buzzed. I'll bring the jelly. They met at the park that Saturday. A safe space. Neutral. Familiar. Cassian arrived in a grey sweater and jeans, a version of him she hadn't seen before. No assistant. No phone. No timepiece. Just him. Nico ran to greet him first. Cassian crouched to meet him. Is it true you like crunchy? Nico asked, eyes wide. Cassian grinned. Extra crunchy. They laughed. Elira stood still, watching. For a moment, she forgot to breathe. They sat at a picnic table. Cassian unpacked sandwiches. Elira brought juice boxes. Nico asked him everything. Do you have a favorite superhero? Did you hate school? Can you drive a race car? Cassian answered every question like it was sacred. No rush, no discomfort, just presence. And when Nico said, I'm glad you came, Elira turned away so no one would see the tears in her eyes. After lunch, Nico ran off to climb the jungle gym. Cassian stood beside her. He's everything, he said. He is. You raised him well. I raised him safe. Cassian looked at her. I want to earn his trust. You're not entitled to it. I know. And you're not entitled to mine. I know that too. She glanced at him. He trusts quickly, but when that trust breaks, I won't be the one to break it again. Elira crossed her arms. You already did. You just didn't see the pieces. Cassian lowered his head, then nodded. I'm here now. And for the first time, she believed him. Not because he said the right words, but because he was still standing there, quietly, without expectation, while the boy on the slide shouted, "Hey Dad, look!" And Cassian looked. Every time. Elira didn't expect it to become routine. But Cassian started showing up, not in a disruptive way, but in small, steady moments. A Tuesday evening outside the bookstore. A Saturday morning at the farmer's market. An extra pair of hands when Nico's science kit exploded across the living room floor. At first, she bristled. She didn't need help, didn't ask for company, didn't trust consistency from a man who had once weaponized silence. But Nico lit up every time he saw Cassian. And Cassian, he never pushed. He stayed back when needed, spoke only when welcomed, brought small things, a book Nico might like, a fruit Elira once said she missed. No grand gestures, no emotional speeches, just presence. One rainy afternoon, Nico got a cold. Cassian offered to run to the store, while Elira stayed curled on the couch with their son. She nodded once. 20 minutes later, he returned with ginger tea, children's medicine, a thermometer, and a dinosaur sticker book. Nico opened one bleary eye and whispered, "You brought the good stuff." Cassian smiled. Elira studied him from across the room, noticing how he now moved like someone trying not to take up too much space, as if he knew this home wasn't his and he didn't want to risk being unwelcome again. That humility was new, and it made her ache in ways she hadn't prepared for. That night, after Nico fell asleep in her bed, surrounded by tissue boxes and a warm humidifier glow, Cassian lingered by the kitchen sink. He washed the mugs without being asked. Elira stood behind him, arms crossed, unsure of what to say. "You can go," she said softly. "I know." But he didn't move. After a long pause, he dried his hands on the edge of his sleeve and turned. "I used to think money solved everything. It doesn't. I know that now." He stepped closer, just enough to be heard, not felt. "I missed 6 years. I can't undo that. But if all I'm ever allowed is what I've been given lately, I'd still show up." She didn't respond. She didn't need to. The silence wasn't painful this time. It was careful. Like two people trying to learn a new language from a shared wound. Days blurred into weeks. The three of them began orbiting each other more naturally. Not perfectly, not without questions, but with fewer sharp corners. Nico didn't call Cassian Dad again. Not yet. But he also didn't stop drawing the three of them in his art projects at school. One picture had 3 stick figures holding hands under a tree. Above them, written in red crayon, "Me, Mom, and Cass." Cassian had taken a photo of it. He didn't say anything when he showed it to Elira, but the tremble in his smile said more than words could carry. One Sunday, while Nico was at a birthday party, Elira and Cassian ended up alone at the bookstore. She was restocking. He was fixing a light bulb that had been flickering for weeks. She climbed a ladder to reach the upper shelf of historical fiction. Cassian stood nearby, holding the box of new arrivals. He didn't look up until she spoke. "You used to walk through offices like a storm." He smiled faintly. "And now? Now you carry boxes." "Growth," he said, shrugging. She laughed under her breath. Then, without warning, she added, "You broke me." Cassian set the box down gently. "I know. And now you're here, acting like we're just friends with grocery privileges." He nodded. "Because I don't want to come in as a storm again." Elira stared at him. Then she climbed down, slowly. When she reached the floor, she stood close enough to feel his presence. "But what if I don't know how to be touched by you again?" Cassian's voice was quiet. "Then I'll wait until you do. Or I'll stay without touching. No rush, no grab, no entitled apologies. Just truth." And Elira, she didn't push him away. But she didn't move closer either. She was learning that some healing doesn't look like heat. It looks like stillness. Later that night, Cassian walked them home under his umbrella. The rain fell soft. Nico skipped ahead, counting puddles. And for the first time, Elira thought, maybe he isn't here to rewrite the past. Maybe he's here to help write what's next. By the end of March, the cold had loosened its grip on the town. Spring slipped in slowly. Soft winds, budding trees, and the sound of bicycles returning to the sidewalks. Elira liked this time of year. It reminded her of the years before Cassian, before the penthouse, before the boardrooms and NDAs and impossible choices, back when she believed calm could be permanent. But this spring, things were changing. Cassian had integrated himself into Nico's world, not loudly, not forcefully, just one day at a time. Elira watched as the man who once didn't notice her became the man who now showed up without needing to be asked. A new role, slowly earned. But she also knew something was coming, because every piece she'd ever built had a price. It started with Nico's school. He was nominated to present a speech at the upcoming Parents' Day assembly. The theme? The people who teach me. He was excited, nervous, proud. Elira expected him to mention her, maybe his teacher, maybe the neighbor who let him feed her cats. She wasn't prepared for what he said during rehearsal. I want to talk about my mom and my almost dad. Elira blinked. Your what? Nico sat on the couch, swinging his legs. Well, he's kind of my dad, but not really. But he shows up. So that counts, right? She swallowed. What do you mean by almost? He hasn't moved in yet, and we don't match last names, but he comes when I need him. That hit her like a truck. She wasn't ready for this. Not this fast. Not yet. Nico, are you sure you want to say that out loud, in front of everyone? He nodded confidently. I like what we are. People should know. She smiled, nodded, hid the storm behind her eyes. Because now, the truth wasn't just hers to carry. It was his. The next morning, Cassian arrived early to drop off a notebook he promised Nico. Elira met him outside. We need to talk. He raised a brow. She didn't wait for an invitation. Nico wants to speak about you at school. Cassian paused. What kind of speech? Parents' Day. A presentation about who he learns from. Cassian's face softened. He chose me? Elira nodded slowly. But that comes with questions. Other parents, teachers, school files. I don't care. I do, she said firmly. He waited. I need you to understand. This isn't just a feel-good moment. It's public. It's permanent. People will start connecting dots. They should, Cassian said. Elira searched his eyes. Are you ready for what that means? Yes. Her breath caught. Because this time, he didn't flinch. That afternoon, Cassian walked Nico home from school. Elira trailed behind, watching them from a distance. Not out of fear, but study. Cassian asked questions without assuming. Listened without interrupting. Let Nico set the pace. He didn't try to be a savior. He tried to be present. And somehow, that meant more. That evening, Elira sat on her balcony, sipping tea. Cassian stepped out with his own mug and stood beside her. Nico was inside, watching cartoons. You were always good at hiding, Cassian said quietly. She raised a brow. Even back then, he added, you were always the calm in the chaos. I never realized how much I needed that until you were gone. Elira didn't speak. He sipped his tea. Do you regret it? Regret? What? She asked. The night in the penthouse, what it started. She was silent for a long time. Then, no. Cassian exhaled. But I regret everything after. He nodded. Me too. She looked up. And if you ever make him feel like he's not enough, or worse, like he's too much, I'll erase you again. Cassian didn't argue. I believe you. She looked away, but her hand was trembling. And part of her hoped he didn't notice. Parents' Day arrived faster than Elira expected. The school auditorium buzzed with energy. Folding chairs squeaked. Phones were out. Teachers made last-minute adjustments to sound checks and name tags. Elira sat in the second row with a knot in her stomach and Nico's juice box in her hand. Next to her, Cassian adjusted his cuffs like he was preparing to speak to investors, not watch a 7-year-old deliver a speech about peanut butter and parenting. Elira leaned in. You don't need to look like you're pitching a merger. He gave her a side glance. Old habit. She smirked. Try not to look like a hostile takeover during the apple juice break. Cassian chuckled. Their fingers didn't touch, but the space between them didn't feel so loaded anymore. Nico stood on stage with both hands gripping the microphone stand. He was the only kid who didn't need help adjusting it. He cleared his throat. My name is Nico. I want to talk about two people who teach me stuff every day. Elira's hands clenched the paper program. He continued. My mom taught me how to ask questions, how to fix things with tape, and how to sit with big feelings. A few parents smiled. Elira swallowed hard. And the other person is someone who didn't know me at first, but now he shows up even when I don't ask. He looked at Cassian. Elira's breath caught. He teaches me how to try again, how to say sorry, and how to be brave even if you're scared. Cassian blinked rapidly. And I call him Cass, but he's kinda like a dad. So, that's cool. The room went quiet for half a second before warm applause broke out. Nico smiled like he'd won a trophy. Elira exhaled, quietly, fully, for the first time in a long time. After the assembly, parents mingled in the hallway. A few stopped to say, "That was such a sweet speech," or "Your son has a big heart." Cassian kept close but didn't hover. When one mother asked, "Is that his father?" Elira paused, then answered, "He's the man who shows up." It wasn't a deflection. It was the truth. And for once, she didn't feel the need to explain further. Outside, as families dispersed, Nico tugged Cassian's hand. "Did I do okay?" Cassian knelt down. "You were the best speaker there. Better than the kid who sang. Way better. Even better than the one who rapped about her dog." Cassian nodded. "Especially better than that." Nico grinned, then ran toward the playground. Elira and Cassian stood side by side, watching him. Cassian finally spoke. "Thank you." "For what?" "For letting him say what he needed." "I didn't let him," she said. "He decided." Cassian looked down. "He's got your courage." Elira shook her head. "No. That belongs to him now." That evening, Nico fell asleep mid-sentence. Cassian stayed behind to help clean up. Elira brought him a glass of water and sat across the table. Neither of them spoke for a while. Then she said, "You handled that well. I wanted to cry during the part about tape." She smirked. "You almost did." "I know." He leaned back. "I didn't expect this to feel like a family moment." Elira nodded. "It was." Cassian watched her for a long beat. "You know, you've changed. Good or bad? Quietly dangerous," he said with a small smile. "I've always been that. You were just too distracted to notice." He looked down at his glass. "I notice now." Before he left, he stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame. "Elira." She turned. "I'm not going anywhere." "I know. I don't expect anything. I know that too. But I'm still here, because you're worth showing up for." She didn't cry. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. But when the door closed behind him, she stood in the same spot for a long time. And this time, she didn't feel alone. 2 weeks after Parents' Day, Nico started calling Cassian Dad, but only when he was excited. "Dad, look at this frog." "Dad, can we get cereal with marshmallows?" "Dad, why do moms never let kids bounce on beds?" Cassian never corrected him, and Elira didn't either. The first time it slipped out, she had paused mid-step. Nico hadn't even noticed. Cassian had blinked, then answered like it was the most natural thing in the world. And somehow, it became one of those things that didn't need to be discussed. It simply was. That Friday evening, the rain came hard. The bookstore had already closed early. Nico was stretched out on the floor with crayons. Cassian was in the kitchen, helping Elira sort groceries. He rolled up his sleeves, dried his hands, started chopping vegetables without waiting to be asked. "You cook now?" she asked, amused. "I survive," he said. "Turns out there's life beyond boardrooms and bottled water." Elira arched a brow. "No staff. No staff, just an embarrassing number of YouTube cooking videos and a neighbor who thinks I'm reinventing myself." She laughed. Are you? I think I'm just learning how to be present. Something in his voice made her pause. She passed him a bowl. Their hands brushed. Neither of them moved for a moment too long. Elira stepped back first. Cassian didn't push forward, but the charge in the air was undeniable. Later, Nico fell asleep early. Too much laughter, too many pancakes, too many books read back to back. Cassian stood in the doorway of his room, watching him breathe. Elira watched Cassian. He sleeps like that every night, he whispered. Only when he's safe. Cassian turned to her slowly. You've made safety feel like love. Elira folded her arms, suddenly unsure. I had to, he nodded. Then, can I stay? Just for a bit. Elira hesitated, then opened the door to the living room wider. He followed. They sat on opposite ends of the couch. Same blanket, same silence. The TV flickered, playing an old documentary on deep-sea creatures, one of Nico's favorites. Elira tugged her legs under her. Cassian shifted to face her, but not fully. His voice was soft. You used to hum when you typed. She looked at him. He smiled faintly. You always hummed this same little tune. I never figured out what it was. I made it up, she replied. He laughed. Of course you did. Silence. Then he asked, do you regret loving me? Elira stared at the screen. No, but I regret who I was when I did. Cassian didn't argue. Instead, he whispered, I miss who I could have been. If I hadn't lost you. The words clung to the air like steam on glass. Neither of them moved. But they both felt it. Elira stood first. I'm making tea. I'll take whatever you're having. In the kitchen, her hands trembled. Not because of fear, because the heart she'd buried was listening again. The tea steeped slowly in silence. Elira stood at the counter, eyes on the kettle but mind far away, back in a penthouse with snow. Outside the windows and unspoken feelings pressed between two people who never had a plan. Cassian leaned against the doorframe now, watching her. I used to think you were quiet because you were shy, he said. She poured hot water into both mugs. I wasn't shy. I was watching. Watching what? You, she answered without hesitation. To see if the version of you that showed kindness once in a while was real. Cassian stepped closer. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to feel. And, what did you decide? I'm still deciding. He took the cup she handed him. Their fingers brushed. He didn't move away this time. And she didn't flinch either. They sat back on the couch, one pillow between them. Steam curled from their mugs. The documentary had ended. The credits hummed in the background. Elira leaned her head back against the couch cushion, eyes closed. Cassian spoke quietly. I used to hate the quiet. She opened her eyes. I filled everything with noise, meetings, travel, movement. I thought silence meant something was wrong. She nodded slowly. Because you were never taught how to sit in stillness. He looked at her. And you were? No, she said. But I was forced to learn. The room went still again. Safe. Not empty. He leaned slightly forward. Elira. She looked at him. His gaze didn't waver. If I kiss you right now, will you hate me for it? She didn't answer immediately. She looked at his hands, resting on his lap. Unclenched. Steady. Then she looked at his face, older than before, but softer and more present. I'll only hate you if you do it and disappear again. He moved slowly. No rush, no heat. Just inches closed with intention. When their lips met, it wasn't desperate. It was earned, and when they pulled apart, she didn't look away. She looked directly at him and whispered, now you know what stillness really feels like. They didn't sleep together that night. Not in that way. Cassian took the couch. Nico had the bed. Elira stayed in the chair reading a book with the lamp low. But the air between them had changed. Not dangerous, not rushed, just ready. At 2 a.m., she walked quietly to the kitchen for water. Cassian was still awake, sitting on the couch with a blanket over his legs and a notepad on his lap. He looked up. You good? she asked. He nodded. Just writing. Writing what? A letter to myself, he said. From the version of me who used to take everything for granted. She didn't ask to read it. She just sat beside him. Close this time. No pillow between them. Morning came. Nico bounced into the room, hair messy, socks half off. Mom, Cass, are we still having pancakes or was that a one-time deal? Cassian smiled. Pancakes are forever, little man. Elira laughed softly and shook her head. And as they made breakfast together, in a kitchen too small for three, Elira realized something. She wasn't scared anymore. Because for the first time, the man who looked like Nico wasn't just showing up. He was staying. And this time, she believed him. The rhythm had returned. Mornings with pancakes, afternoons with homework, evenings with laughter, books and soft glances across the room. Elira no longer measured peace in isolation, but in consistency. And Cassian, he had become dependable. He didn't miss calls, didn't cancel weekends. He even installed a doorbell camera at her place, just in case. But peace never lasted long where Cassian's name was involved. Not with the company he used to keep, and definitely not with the empire he once ruled from the 50th floor. It started with a phone call from a blocked number. Elira didn't answer. Then came the email, cold, professional. As part of our annual background review, we noticed discrepancies regarding your freelance name, Rena Velin, and unfiled tax adjustments. Please clarify. She sat frozen at the kitchen table. Cassian stepped in with Nico's backpack slung over his shoulder. She passed him the phone wordlessly. His eyes scanned the screen. He sat down across from her. They're digging. Why now? Because I'm pulling away from Calum. And people don't like it. She tightened her grip on her tea mug. This isn't about me anymore. No, he said. Now they're looking for leverage. That night, Elira couldn't sleep. Cassian offered to stay, but she asked him to go. Not out of anger, but because she needed to breathe, to think, to remember what it felt like when his world first unraveled hers. The next day, she walked into the bookstore with a stiff jaw and sharper eyes. She boxed up old documents, deleted old emails, made copies of Nico's birth certificate and stashed them in 3 different places. By noon, she had called a lawyer. Cassian found her 2 hours later, sitting in the children's section, eyes tired. You think they'll come after custody? She asked. He didn't lie. Yes. Will you let them? No, he said, voice firm. I'll burn every last connection before I let them touch him. She exhaled. I believe you. And she meant it. Later that night, Cassian returned with folders, details, contacts, a plan. He was methodical, focused, protective. But as he spoke, Elira realized something. He wasn't just trying to fix what might go wrong. He was trying to protect what they had finally built. And for the first time, she saw him not as the man who once left, but the man who was now ready to fight. Not for power, not for control, for them. By the following week, Cassian had officially resigned from the Calum board. No press release, no press conference, just a clean break. The kind that cost him millions, but gave him something better. Elira watched the fallout from a distance. Old executives called him foolish. Former allies sent messages of concern. Even a few tabloids poked at the mysterious woman and child spotted with him at the school event weeks earlier. But Cassian didn't flinch. He told Elira, money can be rebuilt. A son's trust can't. And that was the moment she realized something. He wasn't just showing up for Nico. He was standing with her. For the first time ever. One night, Cassian cooked dinner. Real food, not his usual takeout attempt. He grilled salmon, steamed broccoli, and even made garlic rice. Nico declared it restaurant level. Elira raised a brow. High praise. Cassian grinned. You haven't tried the sauce yet. After dinner, Nico fell asleep early, curled up in a blanket fort made of couch cushions and old pillows. Elira stepped outside onto the porch. Cassian followed. The sky was clear, stars above them, quiet around them. She leaned against the railing. He stood beside her. "I thought I'd lose everything," he said. "You nearly did." He turned to her. "But I didn't lose you." She didn't speak right away. Then, "That's still undecided." Cassian looked down. "I understand. You keep showing up," she continued, "even when it's hard. Even when I push. Because you matter." She met his eyes. "Say it again." "You matter." "To who?" "To me," he said. "Not the version of me from back then, but the one who finally understands what it means to stay." Silence. Then Elira said something she hadn't let herself say aloud in years. "I never stopped loving you." Cassian blinked. "I buried it. I locked it up. But I never unloved you." He stepped forward. "I don't deserve that." "No," she whispered. "But you earned it." They didn't kiss that night. They just stood there, close, still, stronger, and it was enough. The next morning, Nico handed Elira a drawing. It showed 3 people under a bright sun. 1 tall figure, 1 woman with a book, 1 kid with a crown, and above it, in crooked handwriting, "My family." Elira looked up at Cassian, who hadn't seen it yet. She held it to her chest, and for the first time in 7 years, she finally felt like she could breathe again. The bookstore was quiet that morning. Rain tapped softly on the window glass, and Elira stood behind the counter with a cup of mint tea, watching Nico play with the new sticker book Cassian had brought him last weekend. They hadn't made anything official. There was no announcement, no labels, but everything felt settled. Nico had started calling Cassian Dad without hesitation now, not in bursts, not by accident. It was real, natural, owned, and Cassian never corrected him, never overreacted. He simply answered. That was how Elira knew. This wasn't about performance anymore. Cassian had become what Nico needed, constant, and that was enough. That afternoon, Cassian arrived early, jacket soaked from the rain, a stack of school materials tucked under one arm. "Elira," he said, shaking off the water as he stepped in. Nico ran from the children's section with a big grin. "Dad, come see what I made." Cassian's expression froze, but only for a second. Then he crouched low and opened his arms. "I'm coming, buddy." Elira watched from behind the counter, her fingers tightening around her mug. Not from discomfort, from awe. Because this was the man who once left without a word, now standing in the middle of her life, soaked, tired, and completely present. Later, when Nico had gone to the back room to sort comic books, Cassian reached into his jacket and pulled out a small card. He held it out without a word. Elira opened it. Inside, in neat pen strokes, "To the woman who built a home from scratch. You gave him stability. You gave me a reason to return. And you never demanded anything in return. Thank you for not letting the silence destroy you." Elira blinked hard. "Did you write this?" Cassian nodded. "I've written it a dozen different ways, burned a few, lost one in a taxi. But this one felt right." She pressed the card to her chest. "I never expected you to say thank you." "I know," he replied. "That's why I had to." That night, Nico wanted to sleep in Elira's bed. He curled up in the middle, with one arm stretched over her stomach like a starfish. Cassian stood in the doorway watching them. Elira looked up. "You staying?" "If it's okay." She nodded. He turned off the hallway light, and for the first time, they all slept under the same roof, without any ghosts between them. The next morning felt like a reset. Cassian was the first to wake up. He stood in the kitchen in quiet clothes, plain t-shirt, sweatpants, brewing coffee with one hand, flipping a pancake with the other. Elira leaned against the doorframe, watching him. "You've changed," she said. He looked over his shoulder. "Too late?" "No," she said, but just in time. He poured her a mug and slid it across the counter. "I've learned one thing this past month," he said. "It's not about fixing what broke. It's about showing up before it cracks again." She sipped her coffee and nodded. That's the only kind of man I'd ever let near him. Cassian leaned on the counter, elbows resting, voice low. "And what about you?" Elira held his gaze. We'll see. Later that day, while sorting boxes at the bookstore, Nico found an old photo of Elira from her Calum days. Hair longer, suit clean, eyes tired. "Mom," he said, "you look like a robot in this one." She laughed. That was a work day. Cassian leaned over his shoulder. "That was when your mom ran the entire top floor without anyone realizing it. She looked serious." "She was serious," Cassian replied. "But she was also the only person in that building who made things make sense." Nico held the photo closer. "Can I bring this to school for my family board?" Elira hesitated, then nodded. "Just don't let anyone think I was a lawyer." That afternoon, Nico worked on his family poster. He glued the photo beside a new one, a candid snapshot Cassian took of them reading on the floor, heads touching. Above it, he wrote, "My mom made me. My dad found me. I belong to both." Elira saw it, read it twice, and this time she didn't cry. She smiled. Because somewhere between the pain of the past and the peace of the present, Nico had written their truth better than any of them ever could. Cassian packed up the project in a folder. "You sure you want this much of me in it?" he asked. Elira stood behind him. "You're not an accident anymore, Cassian." He turned slowly, and she added, "You're in the picture now. You should be on the board." He took her hand gently. She didn't pull away. That evening, as the bookstore lights dimmed and the street outside quieted, Cassian and Elira sat on the back porch with mugs of tea and the sound of Nico's humming through the open window. "I used to think love had to be fast," he said. "Why?" "Because I didn't know how to slow down." Elira took a long sip. "You still rush sometimes." "I do," he admitted. "But you're not running anymore," she said. "And that's the difference." Cassian reached into his pocket and pulled out a slip of paper. He handed it to her. Another card. This one read, "You loved me quietly. I'm learning to love you the same way." Elira folded it neatly, then leaned against his shoulder, and for the first time since that snowstorm 6 years ago, she let him hold her, without resistance, without fear. Spring turned to summer before they noticed. Nico finished the school year with perfect attendance and a class award for most observant. Cassian had joked, "That's definitely from your mother," and Elira didn't disagree. The days slowed down. Afternoons were for lemonade and comic books, evenings for cooking together and folding laundry, while Nico narrated superhero shows word for word, weekends for road trips to nowhere, lakes, museums, a drive-in movie that Elira secretly loved more than Nico. And through it all, Cassian stayed, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, present in a way no amount of money or apology could ever replace. One Saturday morning, Elira woke to the sound of two voices, Nico's high-pitched one, and Cassian's groggy, lower one, arguing about whether waffles should be round or square. She stayed in bed, letting their voices drift in like music. This was her life now, not rushed, not broken, rebuilt, and she had no intention of letting fear steal it again. That afternoon, while Nico was at a birthday party, Elira and Cassian stopped by a home goods store to pick up a replacement curtain rod. Cassian reached for one, then paused. "This place is weirdly intimate." Elira arched a brow. "It's a curtain rod aisle." He leaned in slightly. "So, does this mean I can keep some things at your place?" She smirked. "What kind of things?" "Toothbrush, socks, maybe a drawer, a whole drawer." "Half." "I'll start humble." She looked at him carefully, then said, "Middle drawer, right side, but no noisy socks." He grinned. "I'll take it." Later that evening, Nico found them rearranging the bookshelf together. He walked up with a blue folder. "What's that?" Cassian asked. "My story," Nico said proudly. He opened it. Inside, a short story titled "The Man Who Came Back." Elira leaned in, heart pounding. The first line read, "Once, there was a boy who looked like someone he didn't know. But then that someone came back, not because he had to, but because he wanted to." Cassian read the whole thing quietly. By the last line, "Now we build stuff together, not with blocks, but with time." He looked up, eyes wet. Elira took the folder and kissed the top of Nico's head. And in that moment, she didn't care what they had lost, because what they had now was honest, and that was stronger than anything they had before. That night, after Nico went to bed, Cassian stayed behind to help Elira close the bookstore. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that felt earned, not the kind they used to sit in when everything was broken. This was the kind that came after building trust brick by brick. Elira turned the key in the lock, flipped the sign, and leaned her back against the door. Cassian leaned next to her, arms crossed, watching her in the low light of the street lamp. "You never told me," she said. "Told you what? Why you came to the school that first time, charity event or not. You didn't know we'd be there." Cassian hesitated. "Then, I was hoping I'd see you." She looked over at him. "I didn't know how to ask for forgiveness, so I thought, maybe I'd just show up." She didn't smile, but her voice softened. "You always did operate better through action." He nodded. "Words failed me back then. They still scare you?" "Less now. But I still trust consistency more." Elira turned her head fully now. "Then keep showing up, even when it gets boring, even when I don't make you pancakes." He looked at her, dead serious. "I'd show up for burned toast and silence if it meant being part of this." And for once, Elira didn't feel the need to test him. She believed him. Later, they sat on the couch, shoulder to shoulder, watching the flicker of a candle Nico had made in class. Cassian reached for her hands slowly. She didn't pull away. Instead, she said, "I don't need a ring. I know. I don't need promises. I know that too. But if you stay, really stay, I'll give you all of it." Cassian looked at her. "Elira, I've already built my whole life around the three of us. The paperwork is just catch-up." She laughed under her breath. "That sounds like something a recovering CEO would say. Guilty." In the next room, Nico stirred in his sleep. Cassian stood and peeked in, then turned back and whispered, "He still hugs that tie I gave him. You know that?" Elira's throat tightened. "I know." Cassian walked back to her and cupped her face gently. Not rushed, not desperate, just steady. "I love you," he said, "and I love the life you built when I didn't deserve to be in it." She pressed her forehead against his. "You're here, now, and this time, that was enough." Elira didn't hear the word proposal, not once. Cassian never brought up diamonds or dinners or big gestures. But she noticed the signs. His jacket was always hanging on the same hook by the door. His toothbrush sat beside hers like it had always belonged. And Nico started saying our house instead of Mom's. There was no announcement, no staged Instagram moment, just three people moving through time together, like it had always been this way. That Sunday, they drove to a cabin Cassian had renovated years ago, before Elira, before Nico, back when peace was something he thought he had to buy. Now, he just wanted to share it. Nico explored the woods, building forts from fallen branches. Elira sat on the porch with her journal. Cassian grilled vegetables over an open fire, sleeves rolled, hair swept back. At one point, he looked up at her and said, "I used to think I needed to be powerful to be respected." She didn't speak. He added, "But it was never about power, it was about presence." She closed her journal. "You finally figured that out?" He smiled. "Because you lived it without ever saying a word." And that was when she knew. He wasn't going to ask. He was going to live the question until she answered it herself. That evening, they ate on the deck, mismatched plates, Nico wearing a crown of twigs. Cassian raised his glass of lemonade. To slow things that last, Nico clinked his glass, and to garlic rice. Elira laughed. To both. After Nico fell asleep in a nest of sleeping bags and pine-scented pillows, Elira stepped outside. The night was quiet. Cassian joined her. They stood barefoot on the cool wooden planks, wrapped in a shared silence. Finally, she said, "Do you still want a title?" He looked at her. "What kind?" She took his hand. "Let's start with husband." His eyes didn't widen. He didn't gasp. He just nodded. I'd follow your lead into anything. There was no ring. Just a quiet yes between two people who had survived what most people don't. And Elira realized this wasn't the ending. It was the beginning she had once stopped believing she deserved. The next morning, the sun rose slow and gold behind the trees. Elira stood barefoot in the kitchen cabin, pouring coffee into mismatched mugs. Cassian stepped in behind her, still in sleep clothes, still blinking off the morning. He wrapped his arms around her waist gently. She didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned into him, resting her head under his chin. I thought you'd be awake before me, he whispered. I wanted to feel what it's like to be held first. He kissed the top of her head. Get used to it. They didn't rush back to the city. Nico fished pine cones from the creek, telling anyone who'd listened they were forest treasure. Cassian fixed a loose stare with a quiet focus that felt permanent. Elira watched it all. The boy they raised, the man who stayed, the peace that no longer felt temporary. And something inside her finally, fully exhaled. Back in town, life resumed. The bookstore reopened. Nico started a summer science program. Cassian began consulting on non-profit youth projects. No headlines, no boardrooms, just purpose. He gave Elira space, never moved in officially. But his drawer stayed full. On Tuesdays, they made lasagna. Fridays, pancakes. Sundays, long walks with Nico between them, one hand holding each. It was simple and sacred. On a quiet Sunday evening, Nico crawled onto the couch with his parents and asked, if you two get married, can I be the one to say the words? Elira smiled. Which words? You know. The important part. Cassian laughed. Like, do you promise to always make pancakes on weekends? Nico nodded. And also be best friends forever. Elira looked at Cassian, then at Nico. You can say all the words, she said softly. And that's how it was decided. The wedding happened on a Tuesday morning, in the backyard of the bookstore, with 3 chairs, 1 cake, and 0 pressure. No suit, no dress, just truth. Cassian said, I missed the beginning of your story, but I want to be the man who stays in every page after. Elira said, you can be my chapter break, the good kind, the one that makes people keep reading. Nico, standing tall with a printed script and a big grin, declared, you may now start your forever, and they did. If this story reminded you that love doesn't have to start perfect, it just has to show up, then this channel is for you. Comment your favorite moment. Was it the card, the tie, the quiet, yes? Share this with someone who believes healing is possible, even after years of silence. And don't forget to subscribe, because we don't just tell stories, we tell the ones that matter.